So close that. So we'll start off by introducing one another.
Okay.
And you can introduce yourself and, how we met and start. Yeah, go ahead and start.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Anna Griffin, and I'm here with Malcolm. I met Malcolm several months back. I had seen his amazing documentary on YouTube about his near-death experience. And I really felt just this urge and compulsion to reach out to him, which is not typical of me. And so I did, and I found out, that he works a lot with reprogramming the brain and just doing a lot of mindset coaching and training. And I wasn't looking for a coach necessarily at that time. So weeks passed and I was like, I really need to reach out to him. He just kept being in my mind. I was like, okay, fine. So then I reached out to him and there we are. So we've been working together for a little while and it's been absolutely great and helping a lot of projects come to fruition in my life, which has been absolutely fabulous. So, and I I have a hypnotherapy company, Iridescent Alignment. I also am a dance teacher, a massage therapist. So just all kinds of things.
Awesome. And my name is Malcolm, and with Guided Intelligence. And I was going through flow when I was receiving signals and downloads and people in my life and projects and stuff. And that's when Anna appeared in my life. And she wanted help with something, right? So we started working together, and she's a great student of life, and now she is amazing, and she's able to thrive and reach her goals. And so I just hold her accountable, and she wanted to start this episode thing with me, and I wanted to talk about things that people don't usually talk about. I want it to be challenging. I want it to be contradictory. I want it to be, things that people, don't necessarily do to challenge the status quo. And emotions and negative energy and being positive and all these feelings and much more. So yeah, let's just take it as it goes. So Anna, how do you want to direct this?
Okay, so I think my first question is okay, how do we define negative emotions and how do we define positive emotions, and why is there such a stigma around negative emotions? Because it feels like someone says negative emotion and it's run away or push it down or avoid or don't even get in a situation where you're going to be dealing with a negative emotion.
Yeah, that's important. How do you feel people are? How do you feel people? I think people run away from negative emotions, or they either stay in it. They don't know how to use it for positive outcomes, right? They don't know how to leverage it. They don't know that it's very powerful. They don't know that it has nothing to do with negative or positive.
Well, I think emotion. Yeah, people in their brain, they want to understand things, right? So they want to look at it as black and white. We've been taught and programmed to look at things in terms of black and white, in terms of this is energy, right? And energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transmuted. So we don't think of our emotions per se as energy that can have that possibility. We don't think that's a possibility.
Right.
Introducing that idea of taking an emotion and using it and transforming it and transmuting it into something else.
Right. So describe what you learned from coaching. what you were doing compared to what you do now? You answered it pretty well. Exactly what you're saying. What does that look like? Break it down.
I mean, I think that being able to have that emotion and I mean, for me, I think negative emotion was like the feeling of discomfort. I was a person who I would do anything to seek comfort, you know, which is a natural human tendency. We want to go away from pain. But I think I was pretty much a runner, or I would just like, it would sit and I wouldn't know what it was. And it felt like I was a victim to chaos within my own body. Instead of recognizing, oh, okay, this is an emotion. Let me just sit with this emotion, let it come up, let me have an internal dialogue of like, okay, what is this? What is it trying to teach me? What is it trying to show me? And while I'm going through that experience, still going and working my day, going to work, you know, checking emails, cooking, teaching, whatever it is that I need to do while still having that feeling, instead of letting that feeling control me, and then using that energy as fuel rather than as a stop sign.
Yeah. And how is it working? How has it worked so far by doing it?
I mean, it's worked really, really well. I think that sometimes we meaning me, have interpreted that discomfort of like, oh my gosh, life is going to stop, life is going to crash all around me. But it's like, no, you can still keep moving forward. So I feel like I've been able to have even more opportunities come. It's like by me sitting in it and experiencing it and being uncomfortable, I was able to get out of my own way and allow life to happen for me instead of to me. And so just realizing like, okay, it's a gift. This emotion is actually a part of me. It's a part of who I am. And the same way, it's like, if your arm hurts, what do? You go like, oh, poor arm. You don't chop it off and try to like get rid of it, right? You want to like help it. So it's like that emotion is not comfortable. So it's like, okay, everything's okay. Let me just sit with it. It's temporary. It's going to be over soon. Like, you know, and really using that.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know me, I work well differently. I work well with the questions. So can you turn something into a question for me?
Okay.
Like, how could I explain differently the way I would for people? So, for example, let me use uh, so you can either manifest or like hinder your personal growth. So during the time that you're going through being desperate, vulnerable, or you're feeling weak or hurt, what happens is our mind starts to go back into old programs, and it won't serve us. It'll either say it'll protect us, and it'll want us to run, right? Freeze, fight. And what I need people to do, or what I do, is I just realize that negative energy is so powerful that we can nurture it. We can like make it be our servant. How do you nurture and how do you love negative energy, right? So I made it work for me when I wanted to repel like certain energies or people's eyes on me, or certain people gravitating into my life. I was able to de-attract certain people, especially in family dynamics or some cultures and religions. You feel a lot of energies, right? You've probably heard it yourself. Like you yourself, you're empathic. You can feel and hear energies and spirits, and you've seen things, and sometimes people aren't too fond about that, but it's a reality, and people want to avoid sometimes the truth. But if you can nurture and love the feelings and the emotions that you're going through, something starts to transform inside of you. Like something starts to happen. You can heal, you can forgive your enemies, you can forgive. So what is dark energies? Like I'm trying to avoid it, but like some people have negative algorithms coming into their life, right? Some people have negative people, narcissists. People have demonic energies, right? There's the devil side of us, there's the angel side of us. And although there's some people that are negative, they don't want to address the dark side. They avoid it. They think it's negative, but they're the one channeling it, attracting it, creating it, bringing it into their life. How does that happen? Like, how are you repeating these cycles and patterns in your life, and why were they continuing to happen? What were you doing? If you were to ask yourself or remember, what were you doing with your emotions and the negativity to lead a life of destruction or negative patterns?
Oh, I think I was really dismissing it, or I would allow the emotion to really be in charge, not realizing that's what I was doing. And so my thought patterns would be in a place of, what's going on? Why is this happening? What is this? And it felt like a Tasmanian devil in my head. It's like, you're just going around and around and around and around, and it becomes intellectual instead of like actually feeling that emotion, and you're not going anywhere. So you're attracting the same thing because you haven't actually dealt with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just the over intellectualizing it, not using it, just trying to kind of figure it out. Like on one hand, trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, just trying to dismiss it of, okay, I don't like this, so I'm just going to be happy. I'm going to put on a happy face because I'm going to make that choice. But not realizing that by making that choice, even though like being happy, showing that super happy face to the world, and that is part of my natural spirit, is like one of joy and natural happiness, it became too much. It became part of it as a facade. And then because you're not dealing with what's in the background is still running the show.
And what did it do? Like, how did it run the show, and what was it manifesting? What was it creating?
I mean, it was creating, like, I think a big one would be like toxic relationships, like men coming into my life that, narcissist, maybe they're unavailable in other ways, just not allowing me to really go after what I want. I started even like with dreams and goals and things, I would keep them smaller because it's like, okay, well, this is what I can achieve. I didn't trust myself to even have a goal that was even bigger to go after it. But I think really like the relationships was a really big one. Like it really instilled within myself, because it's like not addressing it, you're rejecting a part of yourself. If you're rejecting a part of yourself, now you don't trust yourself. So if you don't trust yourself, how are you going to trust anybody else? How's anybody going to trust you fully? I'm not talking about like robbing a bank or like lying or anything like that, but are your thoughts and your words and your actions with yourself all in alignment? It's like what are you doing when people are not around kind of thing.
Right. Okay. So sorry, I'm just like I'm not so used to doing this layout with the student becoming the teacher and talking about the topics I've taught you. So it's weird.
Well, you totally interrupt me, because if I'm wrong or you have something to interject, just stop me.
No, I think you're doing well, very well. You're translating everything that you've picked up and learned your way. I'm just trying to think of a different way, like another way. But like, how could you ask me so I could teach people another way? Like, how can we pivot this a little bit?
Okay, so I would ask you then, if someone is going through a time in their life where they're feeling like a negative emotion, they're not necessarily manifesting what they want in the way they want, or they're seeing like, oh gosh, why is this happening again? What would your advice to them be to manage that emotion?
Mm,
Or is there like a system or a way of like recognizing what it is?
there is an easy system and an easy way, and I can describe it, but it's like there's more to it than meets the eye. Like, loving and nurturing our emotions and feelings and thoughts, and knowing the differences. There's nuances between emotional thoughts and feelings that become things, right? So like, when does it start happening? When do you start to pay attention to it? You got to start to like really notice the patterns in real time, like the cycles. Like,
Yeah,
like you can monitor yourself if you start reviewing your life like this on a daily basis, like living in the now, living in the moment, constantly thinking of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions as a third person. Like, you're the awareness, right? So if you're the awareness, we have the ability to pay attention and to think of our thoughts, right? So which means we can separate ourselves from our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions, and really, like, what I learned when I died is that I'm a different entity, right? So I'm a soul, right? Like, I'm a spirit, and I had to learn to love myself differently through everything I was going through, to lose weight, to self-care, to appreciate myself, like, to regulate my emotions. I was a very angry and abusive person. And how did I nurture the triggers? So there's certain triggers that we all go through, like buttons that get poked. And what we do to regulate our emotions in the times while it's getting poked, in the heat of the moment, while we're going through a cycle, while we're going through an emotion, or while we're about to fall into a relationship. Are we just falling into that relationship? Are we aware that we're falling into that relationship, right? So like, there's a subtle difference, right? Some people live on autopilot, right? And
yeah.
they don't know how to pay attention to their feelings, their thoughts, and emotions. They don't know how to see it as a difference. They think it's them. They think, I am this character, right? They don't know that they're playing a character. They think that they have a personality, but they don't realize that they have created their personality. So it's there's not one way to teach this. It's like
Mhm.
many ways to teach it. I can have a client ask me a specific question for them specifically, and then that's how I've been able to help you in your own way, in your own direction, right?
Mhm.
Just like teaching other people, like, I teach them in their own way for their direction. So I feel feelings, I hear feelings and thoughts and emotions. So right now I'm thinking like there's people that want an answer. How can I serve a multiple purpose, right? And if I give one answer and it doesn't serve some of the eyes, I can feel that. I can, I can, I can sense it, right? So it's like, that's why I keep pausing and stopping, because I'm always in tune with frequencies. um, but that's the only reason why I stop. Um, you haven't noticed me do this when I'm coaching you. Like, it's kind of weird, but hold on. I'm gonna do it. Okay. So if people want just a fifth level way to do this, okay, you just basically you have to separate your thoughts from your feelings. Okay, that's the first step. And then people want to ask, like, how do you do that? Right? Separate your thoughts from your feelings. How do you do that? So you got to start breaking it down even further. Why did I think that thought? How did it come to me? Where did it come from? What triggered me? So what you're doing in that moment is you're starting to acknowledge and understand and appreciate, right, your ego mind or your ego spirit. As I explained to people, you're starting to nurture and care and understand and hear, see, and feel yourself. And once you start doing that on a daily basis, I've seen it happen with me, and I've seen it happen with other clients. What happens is, like, you start to react differently because you're starting to build a relationship with you first. You're not dismissing your ego. You're not like shutting it down, and you're really appreciating and feeling how you feel. A lot of people don't do that. So when I started to do it, I took like deep breaths. I would really feel my emotions, my thoughts. I would really care, nurture, and understand, like, where is this rooted? Where does it come from? Sometimes it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel the feelings. It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel the sickness, but it's not okay to stay there for long. The trap is people stay there for so long. People don't know that it's okay. Like, it's okay to get sick. It's okay to break a bone. Like, look, I don't know if you could tell in my voice, right? But and I juice, I'm like healthy. I don't eat fast food. I don't eat junk, right? So it's like I could have an emotional trigger with this, right? And go into self-doubt, like, oh, the healer, the person who does this, I could think to myself and be like judging myself. You don't want to do that. You don't want to judge yourself. You want to observe. And that's how I've been able to manifest, is by being an observer in the thoughts and feelings and emotions and the negative energy. Maybe there's a shift happening around you that you don't know yet. Maybe it's, something is supposed to happen. Someone's coming into your life, or maybe someone else is going to get sick in your life, or, you don't know what it is, so you can't prejudge and assume when it comes to thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You got to pay attention to them. Don't come to a conclusion on them, right? Don't like, a lot of people want to solve their own problems right away. They want to come to a conclusion. And I would say avoid that, right? just observe and just notice and just go with the flow. But
So then how would you know, like if you're sitting in it for too long? What is
okay,
that sweet spot of like, okay, I'm gonna feel it, but I'm not gonna dwell there and stay there. Like what, I mean, it's probably a different baseline for different people.
how do you know how long
Yeah.
to not sit there?
Mhm.
Your whole life, your creation of your patterns cycles karmas, right? So like look at your life. You've been sitting the way you've been sitting your entire life, right? So like the only way to change is to do it differently, right? Like so I have lots of examples. Just let me think of one. So when I broke my collarbone,
Mhm.
it this was years after I've kind of became really good at doing the work that I teach.
Mhm.
And then I'll go back to another thing that I used to do. But when my collarbone broke, right away I became my thoughts, my feelings, and emotions. Right. So instead of sitting in it, I felt it, I thought it, right? And the way I emotionalized it was I'm healing right away. So I sat in it. I laid down for about maybe 2 minutes, probably less. I knew it broke. I'm like, oh, I can't move. It hurt. I felt the pain. I felt the suffering. The way I recognized it was the important part is like to change the manifest, you have to say, you have to feel, you have to believe that it's going to heal. But in the past, and by the way, I was able to quantify that experience. Like I completely healed fast. Like a lot of things that I do, a lot of things that I manifest, a lot of clients that I teach, I'm able to, you know, help people, in whatever way. Okay. So when, in the past, when I used to get hurt, when you like bang your toe, you kick it off and you sit there and you like go through the emotions and the feelings and it just hurts. And that pain can last for 3 to 30 minutes. But if you change the chemistry in your brain,
Mhm.
the way you relate to the pain and the way you regulate the emotions, you can shake that off in like 3 seconds. And it can go away, right? But see, you need to ask me more questions. Sorry, you gotta pull more out of me. So, because I'm trying to give answers and I'm trying to give, but it's like
Okay, so how
I'm
would you,
trying to give you, like, I know it's weird because you're sitting here, we're trying to do something different, like a different thing, but it's like I need you to come from a place like you're an actual student that needs to be served, right? Like,
okay, so how would you shake off that, like you bang your toe, like how do you shake that off? Like what does that look like? Like what,
pain and suffering, man. What's the like?
because I think we're so conditioned to like just take a
Yeah,
pill or complain to somebody or freak out about it, or oh my gosh, now I can't drive the car. At least it's this foot, not this foot.
you're saying it exactly. So that people start to think about all of those feelings, those thoughts, and those emotions. They start to plan things out, they start to diagnose themselves, they start to worry, they put themselves in a trap, they start to assume, they start to think, oh, what's the doctor going to say? Oh my God, is it going to heal? Is it going to, like, you got to learn to stop your mind. Like,
So how do you even, I mean, I think sometimes, like, how do you stop it before it starts? Because I think sometimes it gets a momentum going and it's like a snowball. It's like, how do you stop a truck without brakes going downhill?
it took a while to get there. It took years. But now it feels easier. So it like sounds easier said than done, right? But let's give an example of like a real-time event, right? Like you can give one from how you were just like recently to how you are just recently. It's fresh, right? So think of a fresh example. It could be pain, it could be emotions, right? Hold on though, right? Think of one, and then I'll try to give a fresh example. Another one. Okay, well, people have to learn how to surrender, right? They have to learn to accept and realize that we're so scared. People are so scared, right? They got to learn how to detach. So that's where this is going. It's like fear. People are scared. People, if someone had a gun to your head, you'd panic, right? But how can you have a gun point to your head and surrender? Accept fate, right? When I had a drill going through my skull, I wanted to panic. I wanted to shake the bed. And I went through those emotions. And then I realized I have no choice. I just have to accept and surrender.
Mhm.
And then the drill started drilling into my skull. And the acceptance made it easier, tolerable. Like it's weird, but like even when you even when I got cut, like I had my main arteries cut on both of my hands here. So over here, my main tendon,
Mhm.
that scar right here,
Mhm.
my main tendon, that's like my whole tendon and my main vein, it got severed. And on this one, the same thing. I had two tendons and my main artery severed, and you can see
Yeah.
the
You see the
Z.
scar. Yeah.
Um, and when I was bleeding out, when this one happened, when I was bleeding out, my awareness tuned in, and I started to slow down. And that's obviously because of the cause and effect, right?
Mhm.
But it allowed me to surrender and rationalize and start to think like the person that I was with, they didn't know what to do. So I was bleeding out, like I was absorbed with my blood. Like I lost over 50% of my blood. It was just, it was just crazy. I was like draining blood out of my body. And this was before my near death experience. This was when I was 18 or 17. I had to tell the person to get me a towel, wrap it up, squeeze it tight, and call the ambulance. While I was losing blood and losing consciousness and dying, I had to calm down, rationalize this situation calmly, and tell that person to go get or a call, and they came and they showed up, and I survived that, right? So like,
Mhm.
but it goes to how we deal with life. Like, are we calm? Are we, like, over rationalizing things? Are we unable to surrender? Are we reactive? There's a lot of levels to this. So it's not like we can come on here and just teach and people take a note and be like, I got this. Like,
Right.
it's not like that. That's why I'm not giving those types of answers. And people could think whatever they want to think, that, oh, he doesn't know. He can't just give a simple, straight answer. No, I can't. Well, look at your life. Like, do you have a simple, straight answer for your life in the way you are? No, you don't. Right.
Yeah.
So you need to take your time, and you need to break it down. You need to understand the process of surrendering. You have to understand the process of detachment, separate. You have to understand the process of the processor. You have to understand the process of the processor. If you don't understand how your brain works and what's wiring and firing in real time, like, I can literally wire and fire brain cells and neurons together in real time if I want to. I can literally send a signal into time and space and bring it into existence, and create a manifestation out of thin air if I want to, right?
Mhm.
Um,
So is that something you think everyone has that ability?
yes.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's not an ability, it's natural, it's normal.
It's
It's just
something that you learn or something you tap into.
both. You have to learn how to come back to earth, like, ground yourself, stop thinking on a high horse level, stop thinking outside yourself, stop thinking like, things are happening to you and not for you.
Right.
Stop like putting the puzzles together. uh Go through the journey of life, and that's how the puzzles will come together. It's not like a puzzle, it's different. You have to go
Mhm.
through the journey, and God will lay the path down while you're flowing, while you're going in the direction you need to go, right? Everything will come together. um but if you can think of, like, how do you think right now? Just how do you think? And then you think about what happens when I think that way. What's the outcome usually when I think that way? And then think of 5 other circumstances that you've done that. And now start to recognize yourself, right? We don't,
Yeah. It's
we
almost
don't,
like building an owner's manual for yourself because you don't know
yes.
yourself. How can you work yourself if you don't know yourself?
Yeah. A good translation, right? You're a translator. That's awesome. So that's exactly what people have to learn how to do. That's You nailed it on the head. Is like, you have to, it's a journey of self-discovery and self-realization. You got to learn how to self-actualize, and these things aren't something you need to go under a cave and do. These are things that we can do in real life, like in our life right now. Like, what else?
Like, how do you override that? I think sometimes a circumstance will happen and it's like we're with our programming, sometimes it's like a knee-jerk reaction. So how do you flip that in real time or even recognize, like once you recognize, ooh, that's a knee-jerk reaction, like I didn't think about it. It was like on autopilot. There's so many habits and patterns that we have that's just automatic. So it's like recognizing that.
Okay, give me 1 second. Hi, sorry about that. I had um okay, so right away what happens is a thought can come from you, your subconscious mind, or a thought can come to you. So as soon as this happens, that knee-jerk reaction, we have to be aware. Okay, this is what I want to teach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was the process. This is the process actually before all of this, because this stuff, it goes against my philosophy of a mind, body, spirit connection.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have one without the other. You can have people in mental health, like teaching. You can have teachers. You could have therapists. You could have hypnotherapists. You could have massage therapists. You can have doctors and chiropractors,
Mm-hmm.
right? Anyone who is a teacher, including myself or whatever, we have a cycle and a pattern and a karma, and the people who are teaching, they need to realize themselves first. So you need to, work on your gut bacteria, your health, your mindset, your spirit, all separately. You got to work on yourself first. You got to work on your diet, your health. You got to cleanse. You got to do all of that, because if you think you're going to take something away from this and start like teaching it or putting it into practice, but you haven't really served yourself, and you're just like adding layers onto old habits and bad habits, you're adding new habits onto old patterns and cycles and karmas, it doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you more knowledgeable. It don't, like me, I see it, and it's annoying. It's to see somebody reteach or to show something that they're not, but they don't know the process themselves. It's very annoying. But like, so if we teach something right now, if we teach someone, how to do something, the reason why they can't, or why they wouldn't be fulfilled, is because they're not having a mind, body, spirit connection. They're just adding layers without peeling off the layers first, right? So they're just like adding on new ideas and modalities onto their broken self.
It's like trying to plant flowers in a weed patch.
Yeah, they're exactly. They're not. You need to cleanse yourself first, because your gut bacteria is your second brain. It's like hindering your personal growth. Your spirit could be tainted. That can hinder your personal growth. Your subconscious mind is hindered. It could sabotage your personal growth. So if you start trying to figure out how to tap into abilities and how to be aware of your conscious thoughts and all these thought patterns and things that people want to teach, they're not going forward. They're not really going forward. They're going backwards, not in a good way, the way I teach. The real way to go forward is by going backwards and decalcifying yourself, your mind, body, spirit. You want to cleanse your blood. You want to cleanse your thought patterns, your reactions, how you get pushed in life, how you feel, your emotions, how you look at the world, how you look at people, how you think. There's so many things, the way you change your internal dialogue, all of these things need to come first before you could just show up and be like, give me this magic pill, give me this master key,
Right.
about
Yeah, because I think
people
so
that I've
many,
been trying to
well,
work
that's
with.
like, that's kind of our culture too, is like, oh, take a pill. Oh, here. It's to mask and
Yeah.
to numb instead of to face and be uncomfortable.
Yeah. So that's why I don't want to just go into it. And then those same people, they're
Mhm.
judging. They're the judgers, right?
Yeah.
They don't,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, so he can't teach this, or they're thinking like, look the way he talks, look the way. I learned a while ago how not to give a fuck about what people think and their feelings. I shut it down and I don't care. Now it's like, I know it's coming from them, right? I'm picking up on these ideas and these nuances, and I can understand that. But the way to serve them is by saying, look, the way you're going to get it is your self-healing and your self-improvement comes from relearning and re-educating yourself. Start to ask questions, start to learn about the earth, the world, start to learn about the lies and the conspiracies, start to like learn about, the rules and the bullshit ideas and the programmings, start to do that first.
Yeah.
If
There's
you're
so
not doing none of that, if you're not doing no work and you just want to do personal growth, you're not growing. You're getting further and further and further away from yourself.
Yeah.
Once you connect to yourself first and you do all the work and you start understanding everything, you'll start to understand what these frequencies are and what these radiations are and what this world is. And you'll start to tap into these natural innate abilities. Like it'll start happening. That's why it's like woo woo when people want to hear you come on here and you're like, Malcolm, so tell us about your healing. Like it's like, but it doesn't happen that way. I can't just show up and be like, tell you about my healing. I can't just tell you how to heal on day one. I
Right.
have to get you to understand your mind, body, spirit connection first. You need to go through revelations and epiphany moments and aha and enlightenment moments on your own. And we need to nurture that, which I've done for you. And and what that looked like was a transformation of who you are, like who you're becoming, because it wasn't who you were. The way you were showing up before, and I just saw everything like and it's like we need to go through a self-discovery, myself included. I'm going through a self-discovery all the time. So it's not as simple as, that's what I didn't like about certain podcasts. It's like, that's why I want to challenge certain people. And I loved an episode I watched yesterday. Have you heard of that guy? He does like all these viral videos called Naz Daily. And you've heard of Vish and Lakiani?
Yeah.
They did a podcast episode together, and I loved it because the same feelings, thoughts, and emotions that a lot of people in the world have about this woo-woo topic about like mindset and visualization and manifestation and like self-healing and crystals and all these fake psychics out there and these fake readers and these obese psychic mediums that are depressed themselves. It's like, yeah, I'm not condemning, I'm not judging, I'm not slapping anyone in the face, but it's a fact, right? And do I speak truth and fact, or do I sugarcoat? Right?
You're very direct to the point.
Right. So like,
I will say, like, you have like an intention and a heart behind it. Like, you're not trying to say like my way, the highway, like you have love and integrity and intention, even if you come across as like,
yeah. And it hurts people and it sucks. And some people don't want to hear it. It sucks in relationships and people don't want to be in a relationship. It's not easy, but the thing is, when you see this, then there's a portion of the world that sees the fraudulence and the fake. and
Yeah.
they lose their belief, and they start to fall into the system, and they trust the lies and the fear and the programming and the health and the food industry, and they lose faith in personal growth because it has a bad rap when you see, some things, right? Some things are great. I love them.
Mhm.
But I would hope that everybody, there's not one way to teach. There's many ways to teach. But when I made that statement, an obese psychic medium,
Mhm.
um, it's only coming from a place if that person were to become healthy,
Yeah.
right? And that person were to take care of their mind, body, spirit connection
Mhm.
more, not just a spiritual connection or outside of themselves coming in and them just being a channeler. If they
Mhm.
started to take care of their gut bacteria, don't you think they would become better?
Yeah, because then you're achieving balance. Because it's observing all the ways that we're out of balance, right? We can be out of balance physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and trying to know yourself. It's like then you can really see where the imbalances are so that you
Right.
can
Right.
really be more of a whole person.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, like you said, there's like the different blocks with the subconscious and all the different areas where you have stuff that's hindering you and stopping you, the programming, all of that. And I think people are, like you said, the fear. They
Yeah.
have the fear of, oh my gosh, I don't want to see it. It's like looking for the monster under the bed. It's like, oh, I don't want to look. It's like, okay, well, just turn a light on and it's like, you can deal with it. It's fine. There's probably nothing there. It's the anticipation that's far more frightening than what actually exists.
Right. Um, absolutely. 1 second again. Sorry.
Mhm.
I just want to cough over here. See, the one thing is being transparent to myself.
Mhm.
Bones break, health transforms.
Yeah.
People get sick. The thing is, how long, right? And what does it turn into? If you take certain pharmaceuticals, it can react with you, vomit, or you have diarrhea. If you take stem cells, it will cleanse you, but you go through a decalcification, you go through a cleansing, and you could get sick. Things happen, and then you get better, right? So
Yeah.
it's a transformation. but but people sometimes want to sit and look at someone like, oh, they shouldn't get sick. They teach people not to get sick. But um there's something there too that's called judgment.
Yeah.
When I started to look in judgment and I started to like break down the way I think, the way I perceive, the way I, condemn, the way I blame, justification, when I was very resentful,
Mhm.
you know, everything tied into my personal growth journey. When I started losing weight and when I started doing fasting and cleansing and biohacking, I started to become more in tune. I started to get more downloads. When I started to show more kindness and love and respect to people who some people would say didn't deserve it, right? I started to receive more downloads and intuition. When I started to forgive and look at authority differently, I started to manifest differently, because in my past I was manifesting destruction.
Mhm.
I was manifesting getting arrested, going to jail, going in a holding cell. I was manifesting, so the way I emotionalized that, the way I lived, the way I thought, the way I felt, the way I looked at the world, all had to change, right? For me to change. So
Yeah.
people have to start to look at themselves and not before they start looking outside themselves, before they can classify anything or put judgment on anyone else. They got to start to figure themselves out, right?
Yeah.
But
Because
but yeah,
I think sometimes people too, it's like they'll look at their cycles, their patterns, their habits, their knee-jerk reactions, and then they'll stop because they'll be like, oh, I don't like that. Oh, that's not me. And then they'll be in denial about it. Or it's like they'll stop themselves instead of looking at the eyes of objectivity and love and compassion and like, okay, that I'm observing that, but that's not actually me. That's things that have happened, but that's not me. We get too attached to, I did this bad thing, or this bad thing happened to me. And it's like letting go of that, of like, my power is right now in this moment.
yeah,
It's like that past can really trap you and draw you back. So even if you're like present in this moment, sometimes the emotions and things can come back into that moment. And it's like learning to say, okay, it's almost like a phantom limb, right? If you lose a limb, your brain is still registering pain, even though
yes,
it's gone. So it's almost like these phantom emotions come in, and it's learning to deal with that so you can free yourself to really fully be present with
yeah,
everything you have.
yeah, yes, yeah. I like that. I love that analogy. Um,
Yeah.
doing it is easier said than done. It's a whole process of, it's a lot of work. So
Yeah.
it's not for everybody. I'm just saying. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's why everybody's not doing it. A
Yeah.
lot of people can't live your life or my life. Like, how hard would it be to meet somebody to live your life with you? With if can you be with just anybody?
No.
No, because you have, like, look at your health, for example, the way you eat. Not everybody wants to eat that way. The way you think, the way you feel. You don't have room for everybody, right? So
Right. Well, and also like, goals and ambitions and people who want to grow, or do they just like, okay, I'm comfortable. I'm at this income level. I have these activities, and they're just kind of like, they just want to fly under the radar. They don't want to actually grow and achieve more and have goals. And there are people who I've met even recently. It's like, well, I've already achieved this. And it's like, yeah, but those are all physical things. Don't you want to grow more? There's more areas to grow in other than just physical. And those are going to change the physical even more. It's like, well, don't you want to serve more and grow more and affect other people? Like, there's just so many different avenues to grow. So it's like, there's really no limit except what you put on yourself.
yeah, um, yeah. So like, where to start would be, I would say, self-reflection while you shower, while you're using the toilet, while you're looking in the mirror. Um, self-reflect could be, like thanking yourself, appreciating your cells and your hair and your that you're healing, or that you're cleansing, or that I'm going through the sickness, or I broke a bone. I thanked it. Like, I literally
Yeah.
would thank my collarbone instead of looking at it like, this happened to me. What the
Mhm.
fuck? Why did that happen? And
Mhm.
blaming him, like, fuck, I can't do this, I can't do that. That would have been the problem. But literally within 1 week, I was moving a home, lifting boxes with a broken collarbone.
Wow. Yeah.
I broke my collarbone and I was moving a house. And doctors wouldn't have liked me. You know, doctors never liked me in the past. Now they appreciate me, but in the past, I was going against the rules, you know, like
Yeah.
you're not supposed to do this. This takes 12 months or 12 weeks to heal, or you're never going to do a backflip again or play soccer with your kids again. They think they're so educated. They have an educated answer, like, yeah, you won't be able to throw football. They give these analogies that they give all families with your kid again. Maybe give it 12 weeks, then you can start playing football with your son again. Like, that's a educated doctor assumption. Like, what the heck? Like, well, as soon as I'm thinking that, I'm rewiring myself, looking at him. I don't want to judge him. I don't want to call him an idiot or anything, or like, what the heck, you stupid. But indirectly I probably am, but it's like, dude, like, how are you healing people? You're not healing people.
Yeah. It's interesting, like the things that we hear that sticks to us. Like you could tell 10 people the same thing. The majority of them might believe it, but there's other people that are not going to believe it. But what you let in, right? That's already a programming. Him saying you're never going to walk again, to some people, that's a programming. They let it in,
Yeah.
and they believe it. And then it's like, that's their experience.
They don't realize the past traumas they're creating in people for their future.
Yeah.
And how many people have to go through areas in their life to do past life regression, inner child release work, just to find out where their emotional triggers are attached to.
Mm-hmm.
It's attached to something in the past. I had to forgive. I had to find out about my present emotions from past teachers
Mm-hmm.
that were related with my upbringing. So I had two things. So I had an upbringing. Then if you have a teacher on top of it, those two things were wiring and firing together, locked into my programming that
Mm-hmm.
created that part of me that didn't believe in myself, that believed that, that I can never amount to anything, or, like, become something. Like, my parents taught me, raised me that way. And my teachers programmed me that way too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm Canadian, born and raised my entire life in this city, Calgary, Alberta. And believe this or not, I don't know the definition of ESL. ESL, it's like an English. If English is your second or third language, usually immigrants get put into ESL.
Mm-hmm.
I was in ESL growing up.
Mm.
I was in special ed. I was
Yeah.
in special reading classes. I was in special classes with other special bullies that were toxic and negative, that didn't know how to build relationships. I was in a special self-esteem class growing up as a kid. I like, a lot of people don't know these things about me, that I was all the labels that you see in movies about a lot of people, like people who have made it.
Yeah.
I too was in those too. I couldn't read, so I never labeled it. I didn't know if it was called dyslexia or whatever, like, but maybe it was. I couldn't read. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how to read properly. I was always scared and nervous. I'd break into sweat. I couldn't, like, it stemmed from insecurity and trust and neglect and shame. And people, they want to label things the wrong way, but I have a whole different teaching on the way psychologists label this and teach it, because it has nothing to do with what see, I thought of this yesterday. This came to me, downloaded. This whole teaching, this lecture came into my mind. I was watching this psychologist do a podcast with Tom Bilyeu. And these signals are going off in my brain saying, no, this is so mediocre. And this is a world-renowned psychologist. And I was looking at, not judging, but I was in my mind, I was like, no, that's wrong. You're still teaching from a level of thinking it's wiring and firing in the brain, and that it's a chimp brain. And it's no, I think it has to do with self-love and not being heard, seen, or felt and nurtured. If I was loved as a kid, if my parents and my teachers and the counselors and the therapists, and they knew me, heard, seen, and felt me and loved me and said, no, he's not broken.
Yeah.
It's not that he doesn't know how to read. And they just said, come here. You're great. You're able to rewire yourself. We're going to give you love. And they just gave me some empowerment, and they gave me some hope and belief and some desire. I probably wouldn't have a problem reading. They could have fixed me, but they kept labeling it. Everyone layering it on top of another. And it just built this paradigm that he doesn't know how to read. He doesn't know how to learn. He's dumb. He's stupid. He's broken. He's a piece of shit. He's garbage. He's a bully. He's toxic. He's negative. And they just, that's what the world was dishing out. Like it was just a cycle.
Yeah.
But now, if you put a child in front of me and you give that child love and respect and a high five and a good job, and you got this, like, you're so smart, you're amazing, dude, like you're a spirit, you're a spiritual being, you're a blessing, like, wow. And you just kept doing that, inspiring a child, then it'll change the pathways in his brain. It has nothing to do with what these psychologists are teaching.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's like love literally will open up the brain and make room for all the learning that needs to happen. Whereas like all of those negative labels, it literally will shrink the brain. I mean, if you can even look at images, like MRI images of fear and anxiety and all of that, it literally changes the brain, just that emotion, not even the labels. So I can only imagine what it looked like with the emotion and the labels. So
for me, it was hard.
Yeah.
I had that, plus I was being abused. I was being abused and neglected and abandoned from both sides of my family. So, and then I seen the same things happening to me, happening to other people. You know, it was tough, and I've never had that love from a father. Like my dad never, respected me and showed me love or gratitude or appreciation as a kid. He just condemned me, and he just would put me down and call me names and shit and broken, and he would shake his head, you're not good enough. But for something inside of me, I was still able to make it in sports and stuff. And yeah, he would show up at some sports events and stuff like that and be happy about that or whatever. But I was really good at sports. I had all that MVP, MIP, most important person, most valuable person, VP, or all the things in sports, all the awards and all the ceremonies. In my grade, I got them all at that age. I was really good in soccer, basketball, football, hockey, like lacrosse. I was fast.
Mhm.
I was in cross country. But the thing is, I didn't have anybody uplifting me, right? So I
Yeah,
think what's missing is nurturing that part of our inner child, is love, like self-love,
yeah.
self-care, appreciation, and respect, and giving children that power of belief,
Mhm.
right? That's what's not being said. I think what's being said is like, you know, all the other things, like, which are true too, that the parents, the upbringing, the parenting, and then the teachers and stuff, that's
Mhm.
all real. But then the main thing that needs to be told and taught by these psychologists and doctors in the world are, just say it quickly. Just say it. Don't wait for them to get your program. Just say it. Just love your children.
Yeah.
Just love them, care for them, boost their self-esteem, teach them about wiring and firing new neurons, teach them, buy them toys as a 1-year-old, buy them toys that are meant for a 5-year-old, put them around more personal growth and development, play podcasts and documentaries for your children, right? So yeah, that's like just a whole another topic, but um yeah, I think that's where the neglect comes from, is like the love,
Yeah,
the
I think things get too scientific, and so we, especially in a classroom setting, it's like everyone is compared. We're told, like, don't compare yourself to other people, but you've compared all these children to this baseline that's been
right,
created instead
right.
of the integrity and the beauty of their natural spirit and seeing them as an individual spirit with limitless potential.
And people, what about the people that say, not my child, like, I know my child, I don't think he's capable, right? Or he can learn that. Like, what about those parents that believe that?
Ask your
That
question again.
So there's parents that would say, no, he's just a child, he's not ready yet, he's not at that age yet to learn that or adapt with that.
Oh, I think some parents are intimidated by their children because they tend to compare themselves to where they were as a child. And it's like seeing a child, it can be really intimidating to see like a gifted child because they're progressing so fast. So the child is going fast, you're where you are, and it's an intimidation of, can I keep up with my own child? So we almost hold them back because that's what we know. And that's where we've been, instead of, no, I'm going to honor my child. I'm going to push them. I'm going to uplift them. And then I'm going to catch up to where they are. Right. It's that whole thing of our children are born to teach us, like they're our teachers. We're the
Absolutely.
teachers.
Yeah. Okay. So now coming back to the negative energy,
Mhm.
and coming back to like emotions, and how do you attract or manifest? Like, you see, right now, I learned this years ago. I don't need to, if I want to, I can show up super positive. I can show up super aware, super awake, super smiley and lovey-dovey, or whatever energy that I need to, right? I could do all that. But
Yeah.
you see how I'm just like using the energy differently. So
Mhm.
I'm just staying in this frequency that people could be like, it's low vibe. But why is it low vibe? What if it's an energy? What if it's just looked at as energy? What, like, you don't know what I'm doing up here just
Right.
because it's sitting here showing up in a low vibe, right? So like, I teach what I'm doing with my energy and my thoughts, my feelings and emotions, just because I'm expressing like this, or,
Mhm.
like I pause and I get up and I'm like doing
Yeah.
these things, I'm still achieving my life. I'm still receiving, I'm still doing what I got to do in life.
Right. Well,
Uh,
I think you're being ultimately really authentic. Most people don't have the courage to show up and be like, yeah, I'm coughing a little bit. I'm like this, whatever. Like it's vulnerable because it's that perception. It's like, nope, this is how I am in this slice of time right now. And it's gonna change. Like just showing up how you are.
yeah.
I don't think there has to be like a persona or a facade or any of that.
Okay. So give a real life example. How were you showing up before
I
with
mean,
me?
I think I was showing up like, yay, everything's fine, everything's great, like super smiley, happy, like it's, it's like pretty perfect in the box, like ready to go, prepared, whatever. And now it's just like, okay, I'm gonna bring whatever with me that I have, like to be that more authentic.
Right. Yeah.
You
There's a
can't,
huge
it's
difference.
completely unsustainable and unrealistic and inauthentic to be on cloud nine all the time. And it's really boring, right? Because you need to have dynamics through your life. Like that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you are really on cloud nine, right, versus, covering up for something inside of you, right? Like
True.
it's creating a
Yeah.
false part of you, right? Like
Right.
that was not your true identity, right? Like you were covering up for something you're not.
Right.
That's what like people do. Like we cover up for something we're not. And I've done it on, I'd meet people. I would talk to a lot of people, and I would know how to play with the energy. Like I could make somebody perceive me a certain way, and then I can make them, for example, if I don't want someone to work with me,
Mhm.
I don't have to show up. So this is a weird one. So it's like, if I like, okay, say I don't want to be ego, like there's no ego here, but if somebody came to me and wants to work with me, right?
Mhm.
I get lots of messages and stuff, right? But if I don't want them to work with me, I just give off a different energy to make them look at me differently than what they originally thought. So I don't have to be rude. I don't have to be negative. I don't have to turn them down and say, no, that's okay. I don't think we're going to be well together. I've
Mhm.
actually been able to use my energy so they say that to me. And it's like, okay, good. Because
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
what I originally wanted, anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like manipulating energy, right? How do you manipulate energy and how do you use the power of persuasion, right? So these things are all like, I know we're jumping topics after topics after topics. It's because, uh, I mean, there's a lot to learn.
There definitely is. Yeah.
But then what happens when you tie it all together and you start doing it? Like, give an example of like the awesomeness or the epiphanies, and like I think that's what makes it beautiful and amazing, is like, even for me, is when I see it, but then there's more potential, right? There's more to grow, there's more to shift. But like, what um is it like, what is it like to notice the old you change?
Oh, I think oh my God, I think it's like the biggest sigh of relief in the world. Because even though I think you helped me see myself presenting myself to the outside world, what was the worst was me presenting that to my own self. So it's like I wasn't even being authentic to myself. And that takes a lot of energy to not be yourself. So now it's like, oh my gosh, I can actually relax now because I'm really being myself.
What's coming, what's happening? Like there's things in your life that you're doing, you're doing the work, but like,
yeah.
what's the attraction? What's the manifestation that,
I mean,
like,
I think the manifestation, I mean, I feel like, first of all, there's realizations of like, I'll see things from my past showing up, and it's like, whether it was a perceived positive or negative experience, it's like, I know exactly why that happened in my life. I know exactly why that happened in my life, because now it feels like everything's going to this moment right now so clearly. And everything that I've always wanted is like happening now. It's like, okay, I can like work on it now. So I'm teaching at a college. I'm teaching massage at a college. I'm training for ballroom competition, which I haven't done in like almost 20 years. But
well, why were you stuck before? Like, so that for people out there that want to know about quantifying their experience, like, you know, how.
When I was stuck before, it was because I was really, I think a lot of it was stuck in the thoughts and the emotions. So I had this duality of like conflicting. I had a lot of confliction. So if you have confliction, you're still in motion, but you're on a hamster wheel. You're not actually going forward. So it was like, I want it, but I can't. I want it, but I can't. I was in victim mode a lot, you know, which there's benefit to it, right? I mean, people will treat you a certain way and, oh, you get attention, like whatever, there's benefits to it too.
Yeah.
But, and so that becomes a trap. But I think that now, just being more fully authentically myself in that way, it's like, you know, also like you like different labels of, okay, you're the baby of the family, you're small, you're not capable, you need to be taken care of. Like, oh my gosh, you did that? How did you do that? And it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And I didn't realize up until this point how much I cared about what other people think. And that was
what was holding you back from your manifestations? What were you manifesting wrong before?
Oh.
Right. So those are the levels. Like you were living a level. So if you're playing a game in this matrix and you're in a level and you were attracting in that paradigm, in that level, right, in that frequency, you were attracting, you were getting things in your own way, you were feeling things and you were going through emotions and you were getting things in that level. You know, if you wanted a certain person or a certain job or a certain, but how would it come? How would it show up? It would show up in that level.
Yeah.
But then when you started to change the game and you leveled up and you stopped doing anything that you used to do to play that game before.
Yeah.
Now, what level are you at? And what's this game like? Now you're playing a different game. And
it's totally different because there's so much more clarity and it's so much more of focusing from the internal. It's like retuning, recalibrating the internal, worrying less about the external, and then the external just happens. But it's all from the inside.
You're still learning this process because
of course,
you're at this level, you'll go through some emotions.
That
will be like, you could react to like you used to react at another level. But when you choose the way you react to it differently right now, it determines your next levels of success. It's a test. Are you going to use this test and react at low vibes, like emotionally, like, oh my God, I don't know how to handle this. Oh, I'm nervous. I don't know if I could do this. But why are you thinking that way when you have greatness right now in your life?
Yeah.
right? So you were going through that little trap for a moment.
Yeah. Because there
If
was
you
that
never
old
reached
stuff
out to me,
coming in.
if you
Yeah.
never reached out to me and you just dealt with that, if you know what could have happened, what could have happened is exactly what happens in people's lives, right? Is like they react to things like what you're about to say, is like all the stuff from the past were going to come up, that I'm not
Yeah.
good enough, I don't know if I'm capable, right? So that's hard,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so what else do you think we should talk about? I'm sorry, I wasn't, you know, I knew we were gonna do this, but it was like challenging. So what I did with my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, I said, I don't want to get up. I'm gonna get up. I didn't want to do this. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna push myself, be comfortable being uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and look at it differently and just go ahead. Because the more I run from myself, I'm becoming that old self.
Yeah.
If I ran, then I'm sitting in that comfort zone, being uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but being comfortable. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's a not a good place to be.
Yeah. And it's like a false comfort because then you're gonna have a little physical feeling at least of like not so good. Like, and then you're gonna have the wonder of like, well, what if? And
Yeah,
that's not a good feeling.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's so much to teach, but I mean, it's
There
like,
is. Well, and I really like what you said about the, like observing yourself in the shower, going to the bathroom in front of the mirror, because so many people are like, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I don't have time. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
there's time. There's always time.
yeah. That's the biggest one that I get from all my past clients is I'm getting overwhelmed right now. So if I get a client that feels overwhelmed, they know what that feels like for them, and and then you give them more to do, they will start to feel the feeling.
Mhm.
So when I said shower, you know, they shower, but they're
Yeah.
not meditating or they're not doing an exercise, not a
Mhm.
physical exercise, but like any type of experience while they're showering. And when you start giving these tools and resources to people, they can incorporate it into their life differently. It's like, how many times do we go to the washroom, but we don't even look at ourselves? Right?
Yeah.
We don't even like pay attention to ourselves, our thoughts, our
Yeah.
feelings, our emotions. Like they don't even uh, take time to observe who we are and what we are.
Yeah. I
It's like
think,
we're non-existent. It's like I'm outside
yeah.
myself. I'm having all these emotions, all these feelings, thoughts. I'm stressed. I'm depressed. But then you just went to the washroom and you just like dismissed yourself, and you're like living outside of yourself.
Yeah. I think we're so conditioned because we are, thinking about our day, thinking about all the tasks, whatever, and society as it is right now, the reward system is a lot for intellectualizing. There's not like a reward system for like acknowledging yourself.
Mhm.
I can hear it. So it gets dismissed because we just get stuck in the mental plane, right? The mental plane, it's like it makes a lot of money. You're really successful if you're really talented on the mental plane. So it's like it takes us out of balance. So rebalancing and like acknowledging those other parts of yourself.
Mhm. Totally. Okay, so what else do you think before we go that's important, that maybe you tried to get out of me that I didn't really speak too much on? Like, what else should I be?
I think that's a lot to digest for right now.
Yeah,
I think that's a lot to digest. I think it's really, really important that like people know, like you have to start at square one. You can't start in the middle.
exactly. You
I think
can't.
that's the most important piece because how many of us do that? Because we think we're in the middle because we're in a certain age or we have a certain experience or whatever. So we perceive ourselves to be there instead of like, no, you have to be a freshman again. There's so many times in our life we have to be a freshman again, and that's fine. You just have to have the, we have to have the humility to say, okay, I'm willing to start here. And just
Right.
because you start here doesn't mean it's going to take years and forever to go
You
that way.
don't think you know, don't think you know so much because of the level that you're at. Like even me,
Yeah.
I am constantly learning and growing, and
Mhm.
I always want to learn and know
Yeah.
more. But even if I'm teaching something, I'm not teaching from a point of a definite answer or ego. Like I always tell people, to ask questions, dig, contradict, ask whys, hows, where, what, all that, and then to go research and find out more, dig into that more. Like,
Yeah.
no, don't, yeah, just keep observing. It's not, you're making life harder than it should be.
Yeah.
Just relax, take it easy, take a breather, and forgive yourself, appreciate yourself, and look, backtrack, and think of, like work with your children better, work with your food better, look at your cupboards, look at what choices you're making, look at what the government's doing, and question those things and shift those things. Look at the way labels are labeled and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And start
Yeah.
there, start
Yeah.
small.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. But but yeah, no, thanks, Anna, for always showing up and being humble too, because like I'm not sure what you're expecting me to just kind of take this a certain way, and then I was kind of challenging you, and I didn't know what you were expecting, but it was like a little bit off guard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just being more organic, and sometimes that's like the best. So having a plan, but letting it just evolve,
Yeah.
not being like, I don't know. I don't know if I really had an expectation other than it was going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to be how anybody else is being.
Yeah.
We don't have to be how anybody else is being. Eventually, like, we can make it better. We could come on here. Like, I'm pretty sure the next one we do will be way different. And
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, but I'm gonna press stop here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna stop the live stream as